right, welcome everyone. This is Coty, known as Coach Coty here on the YouTube land. And today I just wanted to talk to you about some of the notes that I've been taking, things that I've been researching through. One of my focuses right now has been specifically on the schools and mainly the continued reactions of the public and public officials in regards to vaccines and masks and things like that. What I'm trying to do here is broaden the understanding. Essentially, I'm trying to take the information and the science and break it down in a way that the average person can get a better understanding of. So with that being said, I just want to talk about some of the laws of nature. First, I'd like to build the premise that natural law is something that is known as inherent in the United States of America. It's something that is an integral part of our Constitution and the foundations of the country and what the country actually stands for. So let me just give you a breakdown of natural law and the separation of the two. So natural, meaning inherent, having a basis in nature, reality, and truth, not made or caused by humankind. And then law, an existing condition which is binding and immutable, meaning cannot be changed. So when we refer to natural laws, these are things that have been discovered and the key word is discovered, right? We're going to talk about that later. These natural laws have been discovered by humankind. Meaning, for example, right, we all know the story of the apple falling from the tree, and then the idea comes, there must be something that's holding us down. There must be something that makes it so when you jump, you don't just fly high into the sky. There must be a reason why why is the apple falling off the tree? Why do the leaves fall on the ground? Right? And that all came about many, many years ago. And the consensus continues to this day, the law of gravity, right? So we've discovered many other laws along those lines, natural laws, as you might put them, but they're not taught in school. They're not common understanding in terms of public school specifically. And that's one of the many things that I think needs to be taught and absolutely should be taught in depth. Just as in depth as math or social studies or history, right? We need to spend a great deal of time on the basis of our world, right? The basic understandings of our world, which are natural laws, right? The common laws that all beings, all living things are bound by. And the fact that that's not even a discussion at all is what continues to just blow my mind. The reality is that we are spending as a whole, and specifically with our leadership, a whole bunch of time on quote-unquote problems that are going on today in today's world. And it's always these very moving things. They're very emotionally motivating things, right? And that seems to be done intentionally at this point. And there's I'm not going to say that it's. Let me rephrase. It's not that it's all intentional. It's just that it works, right? It's more or less. People have a goal, right? Someone who wants to be a senator or a president or something like that, that's their goal, right? And it is literal human nature that let me break it down like this. Your brain is like a heat-seeking missile, okay? Once you clearly define something that you want to do, like for sure you're going to do it, you believe that you're going to do it, no doubt your mind is going to find a path for you to get there. It might not be the best path, it might not be the most efficient path, but it will give you a route, and it's going to seek the most efficient path. Again, that heat-seeking missile, it's straight towards the heat. It'll plow through walls, it'll jump and leap and crawl and climb and do whatever is needed to get to that goal, because you have consciously told your subconscious, and you found that kind of temporary agreement saying, I'm willing to forego my natural tendencies, because your brain naturally is going to want to preserve energy. It's going to seek ways to do the easy thing, right? But with a specific goal and a specific plan, you create that intertwining of your conscious and your subconscious. And in those moments in time, which I think just about every person that could possibly watch this has experienced this, you just find all sorts of energy. You're motivated, you're excited, you're talking to people about whatever your goal is. And before you know it, you're kind of building this energy and this focus and this intention clearer and clearer and clearer, and it becomes so hyper focused that essentially, naturally, right? Maybe not always intentionally, because I don't want this to be some conversation of, oh, there's just a bunch of bad people doing bad things. No, I don't think that's always the case. I'm sure there are, and there's no doubt about that. But more often than not, people are pretty good, and they're inherently good. And what ends up happening is we get lost in our own ambitions and our own goals, and it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy where no matter who gets hurt, no matter what things you have to say or do, you're not going to let anything stop you from achieving whatever that end goal is. And that sort of becomes the battle where we are seeing this worldwide, and it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer for everyone. People use terms like awakening and things like that. And we need to build the understanding all the way down to the public schools, all the way down to the as children, because that is scientifically proven the most vital time for that relationship to be built, that conscious and subconscious relationship to be built in a healthy manner, in a productive manner. So one of the many things that goes along with that is what we're dealing with here in America with the mask mandates in school. Now, they're not at all schools, but some schools have continued mask mandates. Now, we can go into lots of depth in terms of legalities, because legally that is illegal. It's against federal law, without a shadow of a doubt. Although there is the guise and the use of emergency orders to supersede that, nonetheless, the argument is at this point becoming clearer and clearer, because we're nearly at the 2-year mark of the pandemic of COVID. And the reality is, it's clear that science has not been fully involved in the conversation, specifically with, again, we're going to go back to natural immunity, right? So natural immunity takes place once you've been exposed to whatever the specific illness is. That happens when you're exposed, you either get sick or you could even be asymptomatic, and your body builds natural antibodies. It does its job, its natural inherent job we already have the capability of, that has allowed us to survive for the many, many, many thousands upon thousands of years that humans have been known to walk this earth. And for the new premise to be placed out into the world like it has, saying essentially the vaccine is the only thing that's going to save people, is, first off, very scary, and additionally very false. That doesn't mean that there isn't efficacy to the vaccines. That doesn't mean that the vaccines don't aid you or help you. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, The conversation and the discussion has been solely that vaccines are the only way. And that in and of itself is criminal at this point. I was aware of natural immunity and the details of that long before the new science of vaccines has come out. And, I'm not a doctor in specific, but I have certainly studied a great deal, and I'm a health coach and a personal trainer by my own personal trade. And most importantly, I'm a lifelong learner, meaning I intentionally go out to learn on a regular basis. I just want to learn more things. I enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. It's something that fulfills me to gain more knowledge, for the simple basis of knowledge with the right use is power. It's the ability to use what you think and what you know, not only to your own advantage, but in my personal choice, I intend to use it for the advantage of many people. I intend to use it to build people up, to support them, to give them knowledge so they can use that knowledge, to share it and spread that wealth. Because the real wealth is in our time and in our knowledge, not in money and not in perceived power, which is something that we're looking at here with a great number of doctors and people and leaders of countries essentially following what someone else tells them, saying, this person says, oh, I know what I'm talking about, let me tell you all about it. And sometimes that person who thinks they know the situation, they themselves could be swayed by fear. And fear does strange things to people. I think we all know that. And that's why I think it's extremely important that we all have faith, because faith is what helps us overcome fear. It helps us see that it helps us seek, let me rephrase, it helps us seek the truth. It helps us seek a better understanding of ourselves and of the world around us. But it starts with faith. You have to believe that you can learn something new. You have to believe that there's opportunity for you to change and grow. And when you're living in a state of fear, right, you don't see things that way. It's constantly that fight or flight, back and forth response. And my observation is that that's kind of what's taken place here with the leadership and the individual scientists, that have been in a position to make the decisions for millions of people. And what I'm seeing, because I've been watching some of the hearings, the House and Senate hearings and things like that, what I've been seeing is that fear is on display with the individuals who are, in essence, responsible for the way we've gone about, quote unquote, combating the virus and the pandemic. So I think it's essential that we start to understand why these things are being missed and why we're relying on a small select group of individuals to determine what's right and wrong, especially when it comes to public health and the health of, when you combine the public health with the freedom that's allowed and allotted here in America of personal choice, of being responsible for your own persons, and no other person can make that decision for you. That is a deep, deep foundation of our country, and that is something that is a literal part of the fabric of freedom, the fabric of collective freedom. So, to put it into an understanding of my personal perspective and to clarify to everyone else who may or may not pay attention to the things that I have to say, I view things through my faith and through the truth, the best of my ability. So let's say, give you an example. If I learn about something, whether it's through the internet or a book or through someone else's word of mouth, I have built a quote unquote program within myself to ask a series of questions about that, right? Because if I naturally believe it, there's two things that I'm concerned with. One, do I believe it because of what things I already know and it makes sense and it links up with those things? Or do I believe it because I'm emotionally driven to believe it? And that's typically something that the emotional side can easily take over. Your brain and your thoughts and your emotions can easily be hijacked by someone's word, by someone's truth, their truth. Whether it's connected to reality or not is a different circumstance. And I think that's where this process takes place for me, where by asking a set of questions, by critically thinking about what is being said, and connecting that and actually thinking through, okay, how does that stand the test of what I know to be true and what I know to be in reality? And when you put what is said up against that test, it either passes or fails. There isn't a in between, or maybe it's true and maybe it's not. At the end of those questions, it either passes or fails. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And unfortunately, in terms of the mandates and rules that have been put in place, which, to be clear, in the beginning, I agree with. Okay, I agreed with the 15 days, the flatten the curve, right? Because what they're saying, what they are meaning by that is, we're trying to make sure that as humans, we put in an effort to help as few people as possible die from this illness, because it's here and it's real, and we need to, it's our duty as public health servants to flatten the curve so it doesn't spike up and kill a bunch of people. What that turned into, unfortunately, was a one-way train, a heat-seeking missile for safety. Now, I'm sure there could be a good argument made to say that that was done intentionally, but I don't want to speak on that right now. What I do want to speak on is the psychology and the emotional side and the natural human tendency side for it to go that way nonetheless, regardless of it being intentional or not. Because what I see here is most likely the intention has been just that. We want to protect as many people as possible. We know that certain people with comorbidities and or people in elder generations have much higher risk of dying from this. And of course, we don't want people to die, right? So with that in mind, that seems to be why we've gone the path that we've gone. And unfortunately, it does seem that some not so great people have decided that they could use this to their advantage. And now we're 2 years in, and the not so good people are taking advantage of something that, first off, they don't fully understand. And if they do fully understand, well, that makes it very heinous, the acts that are taking place. So I was going to get into some other things with this, but it's clear that every time I talk about this, I tend to rant and rave on things. But what I want to end this with is hopefully this has given a little bit of clarity to why we're on the path that we're on. And hopefully we can see that the way to turn the ship around and go in another direction is to start asking better questions. So I have a video, and something that is very important to me is the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. I don't know if anyone else has said that or if there's any other types of specific literature out there about that, but that is a statement for me that rings very true, vitally true to humanity as a whole, especially with our leadership in times where we're all going to be experiencing trauma, right? We're experiencing a trauma because we're now aware that there's a threat that can harm our children, it can harm us, it can harm our mom, our dad, our grandparents. That is a deep wound within the mind where naturally you're going to avoid dealing with it. Naturally, you're going to want to seek aid and assistance from other people. And in the case of the large society, we seek it from our leaders. We seek it from the scientific leaders. We seek it from our senators and our president and anyone else who is in a position that they've rightfully gotten to through a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. So that's where things can go awry, right? Is the average person who, let's say, specializes as a grade school teacher or a truck driver or the cashier at the store, all these variety of what you would call, just normal types of jobs, which by the way are very important. And I personally see almost all of these jobs as essential to our functioning society. If you remove one of these specific jobs, you're going to be missing out on an integral part of human connection and the basis as to why people are doing what they're doing, right? If there was no human connection at the store, well, you already know the path that's going to lead. We're just going to order it on the computer, and somebody's going to be inside the store for you, getting all the items. We're seeing this happening right now. And then, boom, it's going to be shipped to your door. And what we're going to miss out on is all these little tiny pieces to a much bigger puzzle where we're building these human connections, where you're going to be missing out on that opportunity to learn about one of your neighbors, someone from your community, and what's going on in their life, because you weren't face to face with them while they're scanning your items through, and you're having that casual conversation with them. How's your day going? What's things going on? And you guys get to have a little laugh or a little joke or something like that. And slowly but surely, as we start to eliminate those things, we're going to cause some serious damage to the fabric of faith and the fabric of truth and the fabric of humanity and how we interact with each other. So I'll continue to make more videos about this. I'll continue to speak on things. What I'm going to leave you with is a quote. I believe it was Nikola Tesla. I didn't actually write the name down on this one, but it says here, I'm pretty sure Nikola Tesla, but I don't want to misquote. Peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. And to clarify that from my perspective, I think the aim here on the bigger scale is peace, right? It's more equality, it's more fairness, it's having everyone have the ability to start their life on a far more equal playing ground. The only issue is how we're going about it, right? We're sorely lacking these small details. For example, coming back to the point here, is the school system, right? If we want to, quote unquote, using our current president's theme, build back better, the natural, obvious point would be the very first start of that is to be building the next generation appropriately. And what we know is there's been no discussion about that at all, and many school districts are left to fend for themselves and make the decisions for themselves without the support of our federal government. And all that requires is us as a whole, our leadership, our senators, the people that have the ability to create and make laws, to start focusing on new questions so we can get new answers. Because right now all the questions are about, well, who's wrong and who's bad and who's doing this and why are they doing it and how can we stop this tragedy and that tragedy and worry about this safety over here and that safety over there. And there's literally no discussion at all about how we can strengthen the knowledge and the understanding and the intelligence, the base intelligence of the population. Now, we can get into lots of reasons for that, and again, I'm going really far in this video, so I'm going to end it now. Universal enlightenment, that term by Nikola Tesla, is in essence referring to all people's ability to step outside of the fight or flight response, to step above only being reactive to their emotions and only being reactive to the things that are going on, and instead becoming proactive and having the ability to do so, because someone who is in dire financial circumstances doesn't have that ability. They are going to be forced, let's say, for example, it's a single mother or a single father who wasn't well educated, who didn't have their parents to support them, and they're 20, 21, 22 years old. They are very, very trapped in their circumstance, where it's a constant battle for the resources necessary to provide for themselves and their family. And that, having a child, they have very limited time. They have to use a lot of that time to attempt to be a better parent and a better teacher than what they had, to, of course, do exactly what human nature is, which is to improve the people and improve the society over time. So again, peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment. I know that we can find it. I know that we can work towards it with the right questions, because with the right questions, the right quality of questions, we'll start to get higher quality answers.